7 strategies when exercise hurts. That's what we're talking about.
Ow. That's all we got.
Just sitting there, you're in pain.
Oh, I just did squats and went up and down stairs a couple times, so that's not the same thing.
No.
But I'm sore.
No. Okay. So actually, I'm going to mention that just briefly at the top, that this is not about like just when you exercise and it's like, oh, my muscles feel a little owie. I can't remember who it is. There's some trainer who says that exercise is not supposed to tickle. And I always like that. But it's not supposed to hurt either. Like, you shouldn't actually train through pain. You can work around it, and that's what these strategies are about.
Okay,
so yeah.
Got creaky knees.
Sure. A lot of people complain about squats bothering their knees. That's a common one.
Mm-hmm. Which we've overcome it with me personally.
Yep.
And
as well as a lot of clients who were like, oh, I can't do squats because my knees hurt.
My wrists get sore after I do push-ups.
Yep.
Sometimes.
Wrists, yeah, and shoulders are another common one. Mm-hmm. Shoulders in general, there are a lot of exercises that people find like, okay, but push-ups with that. Mm-hmm. Deadlifts, I hear a lot of people like, oh, I can't do deadlifts because they bother my back.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of them, and maybe none of those touch on whatever your pain point is.
Or neck. We've had clients' neck be sore.
Yep.
From doing different things.
Yes. The point is, whichever exercise it is that causes you any form of pain, again, beyond the normal just discomfort of exercise, because there will be some of that, don't lose hope and think that you aren't capable of doing that exercise anymore, or exercise in general, or that you'll never be able to reach your goal because of it. Because there are always solutions. You just kind of have to know which one is going to be right for you.
Yeah.
So we have 7 strategies, but the first thing before I even go into them, it's very important when we're talking about pain and exercise and this type of thing. I am a certified personal trainer. I feel very comfortable telling my own personal clients, like if they're having trouble with an exercise, I can say, try this, try that. However, I'm not a doctor.
I'm not a doctor as well.
Neither of us are doctors. And so these strategies, like I said, we've seen success with them for ourselves, for our clients. But since I don't know your personal situation, I am not advising that you specifically should try, like, don't go down this list and go, I'm going to try this first and that first and that first and that first. That is not what this is about. In fact, even if I were a doctor, if I were a doctor and still telling you to do stuff without actually talking to you and knowing what your problem was, that would make me a terrible doctor. But I'm not a doctor, so especially in that case, that's not what this is about. So in some cases, these strategies that we're talking about, they may be exactly what you need. They could be the opposite. They might actually cause you more harm. Only you and your doctor, at the very least, like I said, if you're working with a trainer directly, like when I'm working with my clients, then maybe you can decide if some of these things suit your situation. What you can do, however, since this list is not like, oh, I'm going to try all this, squats hurts my knees, so I'm going to do all these things. Instead, what you can do with the information I'm about to give you, use it to educate yourself on your journey toward losing weight or just getting in shape, whatever your goals are. And keep in mind, this is not a comprehensive list. And then use that knowledge and the list to help you understand that even if your body is struggling with something right now, that there are ways to work around it so that you can build up your strength, have more energy, and eventually be able to be as active as you want and feel good while you do it. So in the meantime, if you have pain, consult a doctor.
Yes. And all of these things, and 2 things. All these things that we've done with our clients, they've been... like their doctor said, it's okay to go ahead and do exercise. Yep. Like they've been approved to try all these things. And 2, like if you're trying to go to a gym and they're jumping in and you can't keep up because it hurts, these are the things that you should be looking at doing to try to get yourself to that next level.
Potentially, yeah. Not all of them.
No.
Again,
but some of these things.
Yeah, pick and choose, and you may find that some of them are the right thing. But again, consult a doctor. All right, I'm going to get into the list. Number 1. Adjust your form. So more often than not, if an exercise is causing you some sort of twinge, tweak, or just tingle, anything, any small thing like that, obviously your bone's not protruding from your arm or anything, but a small thing, oftentimes all it takes is just a quick look at how you're doing that exercise, and then a simple adjustment to clear up your form boom, you're good to go. That happens more often than not with my clients.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a wider stance, sometimes it's a different grip, sometimes it's shifting your weight a little bit. There are countless ways to change things up to find a position that'll work better for you. With that in mind, know that there is no such thing as the only way to do any exercise. Your body is different from mine, so our technique is going to look different from exercise to exercise. There are things that wouldn't make sense to do, like just as an extreme example, if you're doing squats, you wouldn't like stack one foot on top of the other one and try to do a squat. That wouldn't make sense. However, outside of those extremes, there's always a little bit of wiggle room on how to do any exercise that still qualifies as good form. So be willing to experiment, but definitely don't obsess over whether your technique is perfect, because there's no such thing.
I want to add that during our coaching process, that's really easy to do because you can just take a video and send it through the app, and Seth can give you exact feedback or even do a custom video for you, just showing you how to make those changes.
Yep. Number 2, adjust the weight. Going to a lighter weight might seem like an obvious solution, but a lot of times our pride gets in the way, especially if you've lifted the weight before. You're like, oh, I've done this before, I should be able to do this. Listen to your body, not your ego. However, on the other hand, the reason why this doesn't just say use lighter weight, because a lot of times that is the solution, the first step. But I'm not saying that you should be scared to lift heavy either. In fact, there are times when what you really need to stave off injury is more strength. And if you get stuck just thinking that, I got to stick with light weights, your pain may actually never improve. So like everything on this list and what we've already talked about, it takes a personal touch to know which strategy is best, but those are some options. Number 3, stay further away from failure. So if you don't seem to have a problem with an exercise right away, you do it and you're fine, but then trouble kind of crops up the more you do it, it's possible that you might just be pushing your body past its limits. So if every set that you do of an exercise takes you to the point of muscle failure, and here's what I mean by that. So for example, if you're doing a push-up and you go down and then on the last rep, you're like, oh, I can't quite get up all the way, or even like you're pushing and you have to kind of cheat your way up to get up, that's going to muscle failure. And you shouldn't do that all the time. So what I'm suggesting is stay further away from failure means stop at least 1 rep or 2 sooner than that. If you feel like you're getting near that point, then stop. Most of the time, it's actually better to stop short of failure anyway, as long as you're being honest with yourself. Now, it is a common problem that a lot of people stop way short of failure, even if it doesn't feel like it. So that can be a problem too. But certainly, if you have a certain muscle or joint that's causing you problems, err on the side of caution and just don't push yourself too hard. Don't get to that point of failure.
That kind of seems like common sense.
It should, but the thing is, if you are doing it every set and you're not having problems until later, then you may not realize that you wouldn't have those same problems later if you had just been pulling back a little bit in each set. So that's the tricky part. Okay, number 4, manage the frequency. So speaking of pushing your body past its limits, many issues with pain are caused by an accumulation of stress rather than that one isolated moment that you notice when pain suddenly hits. This is just one reason why the average busy person can get better results if they don't work out every day, and why when they do exercise, most of those workouts should not be super intense. So most of our clients work out 2 to 3 days a week for around 30 minutes on average. Typically that's going to allow your body enough time to recover so that you actually start to get the benefits from those workouts, like having more strength, more energy, and generally just having fewer aches and pains, because recovery is a big part of that. And just as a side note, sleep is a big part of recovery. So managing the frequency and not working out too often or too intensely is huge, but also making sure you get enough sleep in general. This one is more about the recovery side of things. But that's definitely kind of like what we just talked about, is like you may not notice it right away, but if you're doing too much, eventually that's going to add up and cause you pain, and you might not realize like, oh, this didn't happen because I used too much weight. It happened because you've just been doing too much.
That's a very common mistake.
Yeah. All right, number 5, slow it down. So slowing down an exercise makes it more difficult, but in a good way. So in fact, I've mentioned this to people, to clients many times, and they're like, oh my gosh, that sounds awful. But here's the thing, it makes you control your body and or the weights, so whether it's a body movement or just a weight movement, so that you're gonna feel the exercise in the right muscles rather than just creating extra forces as you bounce around on your joints. I've seen this with lots of different exercises, with squats, dropping down too quickly onto the knees. I won't mention anything.
Oh, not me.
Hitting the knees really hard and you're bouncing, or bouncing a bar off your chest because you're just trying to
Get it done.
Yeah. So slow it down. For me personally, when I'm using this strategy, I typically aim for a good 3 to 4 seconds in the lowering portion of the movement. And by lowering portion, I mean, so like when you're going down in a squat, or if you're using a machine, it's not always going to be lowering your body, but the weight stack in the machine, when that's going lower, that's the part of the movement that really needs extra control. So regardless of the exact pacing, whether you do 3 or 4 seconds, or you do a little bit less, or even more, it really doesn't matter that much. Remember to use less weights, or less weight with this overall, because it's gonna be harder than when you're just doing it at a normal speed. But this really will help you feel it, and it might even help you like recognize, oh, this is the problem area for me, and I need to work on the bottom part of my squat a little bit more because that's where it's causing problems. So that's number 5. Number 6, we got 2 left.
Okay.
Number 6.
I don't know what's on this list, but I already think there might be a bonus number 8.
There's not, but good guess. Because I do that a lot of times.
Oh no, like I'm going to add one.
Oh really?
If my thing is not on here.
Okay, interesting.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I could have done a few more, and then I was just like, no, I want to hit the most common ones.
Because this is like trainer brain, and I don't know if he like did nutrition brain, so I'm like,
oh no, I didn't do any nutrition in
so
this.
there might be a bonus 8. If
Okay.
you're watching, you get a bonus. If you're reading, too bad, so sad.
Well, if they're reading, they won't hear that.
Yeah, so good for you.
All right, number 6, adjust your range of motion. So if a squat hurts your knees, it might not hurt them if you don't squat as deep. However, on the flip side, there are certain cases where some people have fewer problems if they actually do squat deeper. So it kind of depends. Some people are already trying to squat way deeper than they need to, and that's causing issues for their back or their knees. And it could be that just not going quite so deep will help with that. But there's also times where people are not squatting very deep at all, and that can actually put extra force on the knees because of the angle where you're stopping. And so adjusting the range of motion one way or the other can help with that. Same thing with push-ups. If they hurt your shoulders, you don't necessarily have to bring your chest all the way to the floor. You can have a little bit of space. I a lot of times tell people like about a fist distance from the floor is good, so that you're not putting your shoulders in a really stretched position. On the other hand, pushing away from the floor, so at the top of a push-up, like you're pushing the floor away, you're getting a little extra range of motion in your shoulders, and that can be good for them sometimes too. Again, it depends. I'm not saying you should or should not do these things, but that's how adjusting your range of motion can help. Just a couple examples. There isn't one right solution. There isn't one right way to do an exercise. There are definitely some meatheads at the gym who will say, oh, that doesn't count if you don't lift it to whatever, you don't bring it to your chest, or you don't do a deadlift from the floor. But here's the thing, if you aren't a competitive lifter who has to follow certain rules and
for the competition.
Yeah, for the competition, then wouldn't it just be better to do what's going to give you the best results? That's what we do. That's what we recommend for our clients. Number 7, last one before Megan gives her bonus. Use another variation. So as an example, doing some kind of squat is necessary for any good workout plan. But one of the most common variations is a back squat. So that's the one where you put a barbell on your back and squat down. That happens to be a terrible choice for most people. So in fact, I don't know that I've ever given it to, I won't say ever. I very rarely give it to clients. However, the good news is there's so many other variations. There are goblet squats, dumbbell squats, heel elevated squats, split squats, Frankenstein squats, which I bet you haven't even heard of. There's a million others. And each one of those, No, close though. It's like this. Each one of those has its own subvariant too. So you've got these variations and each one of those things has its own. That's why there are limitless. And this is true for every single exercise, not just squats.
That's not exciting news to hear that there's that many squats.
It is if you think that you can't do them and
yeah.
you actually want to feel better and get stronger.
I'm just joking.
No, I
don't
hear
like
it.
squats.
I hear what you're saying. Now, I wouldn't expect you to have all of these variations memorized. In fact, I don't expect you to know hardly any of the limitless modifications that you can make to any given exercise. The point is that they exist, so you aren't tied down to one specific exercise.
Wanna do number 8?
Yeah, do number 8.
Okay, number 8. Learn better nutrition. And I'm not talking go on a diet, not like eating clean, not losing weight, eating balanced meals that are appropriate for what your goal is right now throughout the day and good times so that you feel good. So 1, you can recover better from that injury or whatever's going on with your doctor's guidance. And 2, you can start to build muscle and just nourish your body so that you can continue to work on your goals. That is a smaller piece, and with all these other things that can really make a big difference.
For sure.
So that's your bonus tip.
Okay. Before we close out here, there's one more super important point that I want to leave you with if you take nothing else away from this. With the right strategy, the appropriate variation of exercise, having a good program, and proper coaching, it is possible for you to eventually feel confident with movement that you are currently avoiding. Whether that's actually an exercise or it's roughhousing with your kids or taking, going for a hike with your family.
Taking the stairs.
Yeah, any small thing like that, you can become confident with those things. I don't care how old you are, how out of shape you feel right now, or how much weight you have to lose. You can feel better than you have in years with less work than what you think it takes to get there. And that's because getting results, really, it's not about working hard no matter the cost. It's not no pain, no gain. It's about putting just enough effort in to the right things so that you can reach your goals while still living a normal life, pain-free life, or at least getting to that point where you're not dealing with those things. If you want to see practical examples of how that can work, check out our free video guides. We've got the 2 secrets to real mom life weight loss and real dad life weight loss. Those show how you can do these concepts without killing yourselves to do it, how it can work in an actual real world situation and make it easy for you.
We'll link those under the video in the comments.
Okay. And then I guess that's it. And so if you have any questions, send us a message or leave us a comment, and we will see you next time.